Hey, welcome to Let's Talk About It. I'm your man, Rod Love, and hey, you're sitting next to none other than the General, Attorney Greg Jackson.
Once again, it's on, Brother Love. Hey, you know how we get this thing started every week, man. How's this weekend for you this past
That
week?
weekend was lovely. Come on, man. How could this weekend not be great, man? Come on.
Oh, yeah, this was
Easter.
Resurrection
Resurrection
Sunday.
Day.
That's
You're right.
That's right.
You're right.
That's right. So, yeah, nah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, what did you get into this weekend, though?
Man, watching, of course, observing what it was supposed to be observed about, but
Okay.
also seeing them two youngins I got grow up, man. I mean, they got up.
Did you do Easter egg hunt?
I didn't do the Easter egg hunt. But Greg, those jokers, man. I mean, it's just amazing to see them taken to their teachings.
Yeah.
And embrace. And man, you didn't have to tell them young ladies what to do. They just took over Easter Sunday, man, and
Okay.
guided and
All right.
directed and did the thing. What about you, man?
Well, listen, man. So this past Sunday, we went up to Tallahassee to spend some time with our daughter, with the one I call Mini Me. And before I get too far into it, Brother Love, I just want to say thank you to you and your golf group. A lot of folks don't know this, but my daughter is actually participating in a collegiate pageant, and a call went out because it's getting to crunch time, and so she had to raise some funds in order to position herself to see if she can win this crown. And I put a call out to my friends, and one of which was Brother Love. And unbeknownst to me, Brother Love had a crew of guys that he got in contact with and helped to just put things in motion, man. So let me just say I appreciate you and your guys, man.
Hey, man, those guys, man, Greg, they turned out, man. I mean, they amazed me.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And those are golf guys that talk a lot of trash. But man, I know when you start saying one name, you're gonna forget. But man,
right.
Book, Ron Bell, Jab, Ron Williams, Eddie Battle, they just kept coming.
Yeah, listen, man, to each one of them, man, I just want to say a heartfelt thank you on behalf of my daughter in this regard. And you know, this actually has helped her a great deal. She actually did her interview on Sunday too.
Okay.
And went into the room feeling a whole lot better because she, you know, had a lot of love and support, you know, from the crew. So man, I want to say I appreciate that again. And, you know, and everyone else who jumped in. My aunt from Miami, she reached out to the cousins. I didn't know they had a cousins group.
They got a cousins group,
They got a cousins group. I'm a part of the family. You know, we had a cousins group. You know, but the cousins stepped up. You know what I'm saying? And so I just want to say I appreciate it. You know, to my boy, you know, Pinto, Hapco, all those guys, man. So I mean, everybody came together because it's love and it's family, man. So I just want to say I appreciate it.
You know, it is. I know we're talking about that, Greg, but it is something else when a call to action goes out.
Yeah.
And people respond to it.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
there's going to be a lot of other calls to action, Greg, because there's an assortment of issues, concerns that take place in communities. But man, I want to see the response to those issues, man.
Yeah.
This was amazing, but I want to see those same responses, man, to some of these issues that we're talking about here today.
Absolutely. But listen, Brother Love, for those who are hearing these two voices, hearing these two voices and seeing these two faces, you're tuned in to two of the most influential voices in Central Florida on this podcast. Brother Love, Greg Jackson, the dynamic duo. Guaranteed, Brother Love. Guaranteed.
How many percent today?
33%.
33%. Okay.
We're going to give 33%. Because, Brother Love, we have some things that we're going to talk about. Last week, we started a great conversation about NILs, and we got a little bit of news on that. But there have been some developments here in the great state of Florida, one of which dealing with two laws that came across here in the state of Florida, one dealing with social media, the other dealing with squatters' rights. But then also, Brother Love, last week, we kind of touched on this, just kind of skimmed on it because it was just a story that was kind of hidden, late-breaking news about an Orlando commissioner who just today was suspended by Governor DeSantis. And we want to talk about what that means because, as always, whenever something happens in Florida, Brother Love, it becomes national news. So listen, we're glad you're here. Tell all your friends, you know, even the ones that you don't consider friends, to come and join you here. Let's Talk Nation. Brother Love, Greg Jackson. Let's get it on.
Well, Greg, if we're going to get it on, man, I guess let's start off, man, from one of the things we left off on doing one of our shows, man, and that is HB3.
HB3. And before we move too far, Brother Love, this gentleman has been joining us a lot, man. And Peter, we want to say we appreciate you, man. I've been noticing that every week you've been joining us, man. You're becoming a loyal follower. We're going to make you a Let's Talk Nation ambassador. We don't know what it means just yet. We'll figure out what it means to be a Let's Talk Nation ambassador, man. But we appreciate you for always jumping on and being a part of the show.
Well, you know, at one point in time, we had shirts we used to give away. What happened to that?
We ran out of them. But listen, you know, we do need to go back to the shirts.
Yeah.
But you know what? The thing was, the shirts that we had were Let's Talk About It, and we've expanded to Let's Talk Nation. So we ran out of the Let's Talk About It shirts. We're going to be getting Let's Talk Nation shirts, and we're going to be back out there getting Let's Talk Nation geared up and ready to rock and roll.
You're right.
But HB3, Brother Love, HB3 passed last week. The governor signed the bill last week. It actually passed or went through the House and the Senate. And initially, the governor did not sign it because of the restrictive nature of the bill. But this is the Social Media Act or Social Media Bill. And basically what this bill says, Brother Love, is that that young people, 14 years and younger, shall not be permitted to have social media accounts. Now, you know, there have been some other states, and we talked about it when we talked about the story initially where this has been done. It's been challenged by the states, but I think if crafted the right way, this is a bill that will add protections to our young people, because one of the things we see about social media, Brother Love, is that there are a lot of predators on social media.
You're right.
One of the sad things about the state of Florida, unlike the other states who have tried this, is that Florida is what, number 3, I think you said?
Yeah, number 3 in the country.
In the country in terms of human trafficking. And we hear about story after story, not just across the country, but even right here in our community, about young people who are being preyed upon by individuals that they meet on social media. I think the last one that we really truly talked about was out of Apopka. I think she was 12 or 13.
Yeah.
This is what this is geared towards. The unfortunate thing, Brother Love, is that you know, a lot of people wonder, and I even wonder, why is it that the government is stepping into a place that parents should be able to control their kids? But when we live in a society, when we have to ask from time to time, it's 9 o'clock, do you know where your kids are, Brother Love?
You remember that, don't you?
I remember that.
Yeah.
It's a time that it's also a place where we have to also protect our young people where the parents are either unable or unwilling to do so.
See, I can even go back further old school with you, because,
Yeah.
I can go old school, Greg, back in the day that, remember that old saying about the street lights?
Oh, yeah.
If the street lights come on, you should be home.
Oh, yeah, on the porch.
On the porch.
Yeah.
Hey, I know growing up in Carol City, you better be in that fence when the street lights came on.
Yeah.
But Greg, going back to your point, I think the legislature, because they had to take this bill back and do a lot of massaging, because this bill took a lot of work.
Yeah.
Because you had the conversation that individuals were coming forward saying, you know, that's parents' responsibility.
Right.
But this is a tool, Greg, and I think, and I know you were looking at the bill a great deal more, but I guess the impetus for this bill is going to fall upon the social media platforms, right?
Right. That's right, because they're going to have to keep track of the individuals that come onto those platforms. But, you know, and it's going to be hard for social media platforms, Brother Love, because, you know, just like we see young people or kids that have fake IDs,
Yeah.
the only real determining factor as to whether or not a person is underage and should not be on social media is if they input their birthday. So if they input the wrong birthday, just like if they have a fake ID, how do you stop it?
You're right.
So, you know, it's going to be difficult for social media, but it's also going to be one of those things that if someone is caught who is underage on that platform, if the law is allowed to stand, social media platforms are going to be responsible.
You know what I'd like to see, Greg? And I mean, this is a good step in the right direction, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's a tool for parents, but something else that I'd like to see is State Attorney Bain.
Okay.
He is one of the ones that has continued to have conversation about raising awareness that, you know, Central Florida, Orlando, Orange County ranks number 3 in the country.
Right.
But then in addition to that, man, and him being proactive and aggressive with looking at what can we do to protect children, I like to hear about more of those organizations that are out there that are getting with parents to get with their children, to educate them about the dangers of social media, the dangers of putting pictures and things of that nature out there. It never goes away, but it also gives predators ammunition.
You know, when we talk about this, Brother Love, and if anyone is listening and they know a good friend of the show by the name of Pastor Peter Brunton, I'm getting ready to give Pastor Peter Brunton some big ups on this right here. At his church, with Northwest Church, they started an organization for young women called the Lovely Project. And the Lovely Project, in addition to promoting, positivity for young women, a safe place for young women to go. His wife, Crystal Brunton, also started an organization that helped to address human trafficking here in the state of Florida. And they started doing this in 2012, 2013, if I recall correctly. So, Pastor Brunton, Peter Brunton, and his church, his wife, Crystal Brunton, I'm going to tell you, they've been doing it a long time. But I know, Brother Love, and you know that there are other organizations, that are, dedicated to ensuring that young men and young women do not become victims of human trafficking.
How about this, Brother Jackson?
Yeah.
If you're one of those organizations that has some information, you're providing services, and you want people to know who you are, where you're at, and how to access you, hey, look, dial in tonight. Let us know. That phone number is 689-686-4405. Once again, 689-686-4405. But, Greg, you hit it right on the head, man. We need to make sure, along with this law, along with what state attorney's doing, what else out there that we need to do to make sure that we protect our children, but also knowing that the parents and the children are getting information and education and getting these services.
That's right.
To protect themselves.
That's right, absolutely. And Brother Love, before we get too far down the road, one of our good friends, Brother Marlowe, has joined us. Just want to say big up to him also. We appreciate you for, tuning in and being a part. I don't know if you heard us talking about it, but we're going to have some Let's Talk Nation ambassadors. We already talked about Brother Peter, and I think the Brother Marlowe.
He deserves it. He deserves it.
So listen, y'all, it's going to be T-shirts for everybody.
Hey,
T-shirts
for everybody,
for all the ambassadors. I won't say everybody because then they'll get us some false advertising. T-shirts for all the ambassadors. How's that sound?
Hey, this sounds good. And you bring up brother Marlowe, and this might take us into another topic, Greg.
Yeah.
Brother Marlowe, he's in the construction business and home renovations, home repairs. But just imagine going away with your lovely wife for 2 weeks.
Yeah. I know where you're going.
Hey, Greg, and come back home and see a car in your driveway and be like, wait, I don't have any relatives visiting.
Yeah.
And then turn the key to your front door lock.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not working.
Yeah.
How would you feel have to ring your own doorbell to get in your house?
Listen, if I got to ring my own doorbell, I'm coming with some other hardware. Believe you me on that, and we'll leave it at that.
So on that cue, I'm going to ask our executive producer if he'll run this down to cue you up.
All right.
I think our executive producer is queuing us up.
Well, listen, even if he doesn't, man, let's talk about.
It was last year when Peoples put one of her houses on the market. It sat empty for less than a month before two strangers broke in, according to Jacksonville police, and staked their claim, taking over.
I called 911, and as I'm describing to the officer that there may be somebody that had broken and entered into my house, out walks a young woman. And she said, well, I rented this property yesterday. It only got worse. I own this house.
It doesn't matter.
Yes. Tensions escalating in this heated altercation the very next day.
Be out of here.
After Peoples entered her home and asked the strangers to leave.
And she's still standing here. Excuse me.
If you touch me again, I have every right to be in this house.
You don't have every right to be in the house at all.
I do, ma'am.
You do not.
You
do not. I'm not touching you.
You are touching me, and this lady is touching me.
We're blocking you from coming in the house.
You are.
You're doing too much.
God.
Believe it or not, the police officer told me, I will arrest you if you do this again. They have the right to privacy.
Excuse me. If you touch me again, I have every right to be in the house. You don't have every right to be in the house at all. You do not. You do not. I'm not touching you. You are touching me. And this lady is blocking you from coming in the house.
Believe it or not, the police officer told me, I will arrest you if you do this again.
Mm-hmm.
They have the right to privacy.
And so, Greg, that is, that cues us up, man, to the extent that was a property owner.
Yeah.
That owned that property. And just like as you mentioned, that was a rental property that she purchased, only to find that squatters took it over and law enforcement told the property owner, if you go back to try to force them out,
You can be arrested.
you could be arrested.
And Brother Love, that is a true statement in a lot of states, except now the state of Florida. Because once again, the governor of the state of Florida, like him or not, I think he did something right in this regard, where he basically has said that individuals who proclaim themselves to be squatters, or they take over a piece of property and declare squatters' rights, they no longer have those rights that are superior to the property owner. They will not have a situation that we just saw here, where a person moves into your home and they take over your home to where you don't have a right to put them out of the house. They are trespassers at that point.
What is a squatter right? I mean, help me, Brother Jackson.
Well, basically, squatter's right says that if someone is living on a piece of property, that the only way that you can remove them at that point, because they have rights, because they have now established possession of the premises, which is crazy to me, that they now, the only way that you can remove that person is through the court system, through an eviction process.
But that varies from state to state, because I saw some where you got
We
to.
don't care about them states.
Well, we care about Florida. You're right. You're right.
Florida,
You're right.
you know?
Because
if we were in New York,
Okay.
we would be having this conversation and still be ticked off, because let's talk about what happened in New York, where you had a couple who owned $1 million home. Squatters moved into their homes, and the police said that there was nothing that they could do to get the squatters out of their home. That's absolutely ridiculous, Brother Love.
Yeah, you're right.
100% ridiculous. And so, to me, it's clearly a trespass issue. Someone moves into your house, they shouldn't be there, you get them out. And that's what the new Florida law says. Someone moves into your house, someone moves into your property, they don't have a proper lease agreement, they gotta go. And I think that that's the right move for individuals who own property. This is only unfair to individuals who are not property owners who want to take over someone else's property. That's the only individuals who are going to say that this is not fair.
So adverse possession, Greg. What is that?
So listen, adverse possession is going to be a little bit different. Adverse possession is a long-term process. It takes 7 years to determine or to declare adverse possession. And what that means is that a person doesn't even have to necessarily move into or move onto a piece of property. They can actually just pay taxes on that property for a 7-year period. And after that 7-year period, they can claim adverse possession, saying that the individual who owned this property basically abandoned the property because they weren't keeping it up, they weren't paying the taxes, and so now through adverse possession, this property is not mine.
Well, time out, because I'm glad you're saying this.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're saying this. So, Greg, you have some situations where individuals, unfortunately, for whatever reason, don't pay their property taxes, but they live on the property. So, if you go a series, is that different?
That's going to be a little bit
Okay,
different.
okay.
It's going to be a little bit different. Now, one circumstance where adverse possession can take place, and this is where people need to be really careful. Let's say, for instance, Brother Love, that you and your neighbor share a property line. Let's say that you don't have a fence there, and your neighbor decides to put a fence on the property, and he puts his fence over your property line, basically takes over 2 feet of your property. And let's say that piece of fence stays in place for 7 years. Or
And
more,
I don't say anything
and you
about
don't say
it.
anything.
Okay.
And then you come up and you say, well, hey, wait a minute. You have your fence on my property line. He can come and say, well, wait a minute. I have my fence here. I've been maintaining this area for the past 7 years. You haven't said anything, so now this is my property.
See, Greg, you know the law, because you know what I'm hearing too, and I know it's separate and different.
Yeah.
But I think about the statute of limitations when you describe it like that.
Yeah. Listen, I want to take over some property care adverse possession. Listen, I'm not going to let. There's some places, Brother Love.
Yeah.
But listen, it's no different to some extent than tax lien certificates.
Okay.
Tax lien certificates. Listen, there are various ways that people can get property. Adverse possession, there was squatters' rights, which thankfully is no longer in the state of Florida, and also through tax lien certificates. Someone has a piece of property, they don't pay the taxes on it for 1 year. Someone can buy a tax lien certificate on that, and they can declare an interest rate that they want to get. And if they get that interest rate, the person can pay them the taxes plus that interest rate. If they don't pay it for a period of 3 years, someone else can get tax lien certificates, or the same person can get tax lien certificates for that consecutive 3-year period. Then that property can go up for a tax deed sale. There are lots of ways that people can procure property here in the state of Florida, right or wrong. But we now know that here in the state of Florida, squatters' rights is not one of those ways.
Not one of those ways.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So, and thankfully, we don't have to have that fight. And I was telling you just kind of a personal situation, not necessarily personal, but in the capacity as the general counsel for a community redevelopment agency, there was someone that was living on the property for the community redevelopment agency, and my thing was, look, let's get rid of them on unlawful detaining. This is clearly a circumstance, situation where they are trespassing. They don't have a lease. Now, someone else said, well, hey, and I was like, listen, I'm not going to go through that process because they're clearly trespassing. So I had a different approach to it. And the other thing, too, is that there was no trespass procedure in place that needed to be put in place. So it gave me an opportunity to make some recommendations on, if this happens in the future, this is how you address it.
That's good. That's good. Well, Greg, one thing I will say, with Florida actually, I guess, really taking a lead as it relates to squatter rights, all of a sudden, a few days later, you saw other states looking at the law that Florida had just executed.
Well, you know,
Florida's
a leader.
Florida's a leader, but in places that we're seeing a lot of the adverse effects, California, New York, now you have
Georgia.
Yeah, but now, and it's not catching on across the state. Now you have municipalities that's looking at Florida law and looking at how do they create an ordinance that is similar and like to impact the squatter rights issue.
In what universe, Brother Love, is it not ridiculous that someone can move onto your property, trespass on your property, and then have more rights than you? In what universe does that work? It doesn't even make sense. That's not even in La La Land.
You're right. So what's going wrong, man, that we see this taking place in states, man, and you actually have communities that are coming out now that originally they were like, hey, we want to be benevolent like anybody else, but you know what? Benevolence only goes so far. And you got residents and citizens now saying, hey, look, these things are taking place in our community. And we don't like it because it's bringing a whole lot of other things that you don't want to come in the community too.
Absolutely. So listen, once again, big ups to, the state of Florida for, addressing the squatters' rights issue. It also addressed some other issues as it relates to individuals who have proper leases, who people come in and try to kick them out without following the proper procedure. And so there have been some beefed up rights for residents as well, which I think is appropriate, or tenants, I should say. But the squatters' rights thing, Brother Love, was a big issue because, again, as we saw in the video, there were individuals that could move into a person's property. Or someone can buy a piece of property and think that they have this piece of property free and clear, and someone is squatting there and now have rights.
Owners getting arrested.
Come on.
For entering their property. But
not even La La Land.
Not even La La Land?
We need to put that on a t-shirt too. Not even La La Land.
Hey, well, man, can you tell me something about Princess Middleton?
So, this was a story, Brother Love, that a lot of people were following, and they were saying that something was afoot with the royal family. A lot of folks were saying that, the Prince of Wales and the Princess of Wales, which is Prince William and Princess Kate, that they were about to get a divorce. There was a photograph that came out that showed, Kate Middleton, and they figured out that it was a doctored picture. And so it was a lot that was going on about what was taking place with the Princess of Wales. And so week before last, she came out, Brother Love. And one of the reasons why this is on here is because of how she handled this. And she came out and she basically had announced that, after an abdominal procedure, they were looking to see if it was, some condition. They've come to find out that she has cancer. And so she's getting ready, after she has recovered from the surgery, to undergo chemotherapy. But the more impressive thing for us, Brother Love, was how the royal family handled this and how she handled this situation with grace and poise. A lot of times, Brother Love, here us in the United States, we address certain things, we see certain things, and I don't think that we do it in the manner that is dictated by our position in the world. And I think that in this circumstance, this is what power families, what they do and how they handle situations.
You're right. And Greg, let me ask you this, because I'm gonna relate it to something that took place a couple of months ago. What are your thoughts on whether you're just a celebrity that's in the spotlight, and when you talk about the royal family, there's an obligation to the public, I guess you would say, but also where does that obligation end when it comes to personal things? Because that diagnosis was very personal, but I say that to take us to Lloyd. What is it, Lloyd Austin?
Lloyd Austin, yeah. Yeah, the Department of Defense, Secretary of Defense,
Now, you're talking about security of the country now, too.
who during a very trying
Yeah.
time, because remember, this was around about the time that Israel was mounting an offense against Hamas, excuse me, and the Secretary of Defense was missing in action. No one knew where he was, and come to find out, he had, he had undergone a surgical procedure without letting anyone know where he was and what was taking place. And a lot of folks are saying, well, hey, it's his personal business, and this is this. But when you are in a position, a high-profile position, and in particular one where people look up to you for whatever the reason, your obligation is to make people aware of your abilities to do your job. And Kate Middleton, in this particular position, she is going to be the Queen of England one day.
You're right, but that is not, and I think we need to explain to people, it's more commemorable, Greg, because it's not governing, right?
That's right.
And so, I guess the question a lot of people have is there still the same obligation of transparency?
For her?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because again, she's a part of the royal family. They're, although England is not, they have a royal family, but really and truly, they're not under a monarchy.
Correct.
They have a form of government, but people still look up to them as the figureheads of that society and the various territories that the royal family, that the British government is over. And so when they look to these individuals, they want to see individuals who portray strength, poise, dignity, and all that goes along with it.
Well, what I loved about it, Greg, and I'll just tell you, and it's almost, I come from that time and era where my grandmother used to tell me and my siblings when we did something wrong,
Yeah.
go outside and get me a branch off that tree. And, if you come back with a branch that's too small, she'd go out and pull the whole tree up. But my point with Princess Middleton was this. She came back, man, and she was just forthright. She apologized.
Yeah.
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 I mean, just straight up and down. There's not too much you can do in terms of just kind of trying to bash a person when they come back and say, I could have handled this a whole lot better.
Yeah.
My fault.
I mean, because people were wondering. People were legitimately concerned because when a head of state disappears, they're saying, well, hey, what the heck is going on here?
Yeah.
And so, listen, like you said, she came back. Now, I would be very interested. We have another good friend of the show, Brother Hugh, who is actually, from England. I would be very interested in seeing how he feels about what happened and what took place with Kate Middleton. And the recent announcement that she made, and if she did the right thing. Does she have an obligation to the British citizenry to say, hey, this is what's going on, we appreciate the privacy, but just know that everything is still all right. So,
Well, interesting. Greg,
we're going to talk about your favorite day?
well, you love, well, you something else. Hey, Doc, I don't know where Greg,
Brother Love's favorite day.
yeah, you ain't talking about my favorite day. Hey, boy, I don't know where you getting these zingers from. Hey, Greg, I gotta ask the question. I gotta ask the question because it just peeved me.
What you got?
Jenner and then, just think about Jenner slammed the president for creating the high visibility. And what do they call it, Greg?
Listen, he didn't create it now. Let's be clear about
So
that.
what?
So what we're talking about is President Biden declared Easter Sunday, Brother Love.
Okay.
Let's talk about this Christian nation that we live in. Despite the fact that there are numerous religions that we respect and that can observe and practice freely in this country, this is a Christian nation. Let's just get that out there. President Biden decided that Easter Sunday will be Transgender Visibility Day. That on the day that Jesus Christ rose from the dead will be the same day that there will be transgender visibility.
So you just said he didn't create it. Come on.
So Transgender Visibility Day has been observed since 2009.
Okay.
The issue is the date or the day that it is now officially to be observed. Now, the point has been made. President's Day is on a Monday. MLK, despite when his birthday is on a Monday. Why is it that Transgender Visibility Day is on a Sunday, and in particular, the same Sunday as Easter? That's the question that a lot of people have about why this is being done now. And even one of the more visible, one of the more vocal representatives of the transgender community, who, you know, a lot of folks have a great deal of respect for, and I equally have respect for this person, Caitlyn Jenner, formerly known as Bruce Jenner, who was a tremendous athlete, a decathlete, who won gold medals in 72 and 76, I want to say, or something like that, or maybe it was 76 and 80 and 80. But Bruce Jenner, who transitioned to become Caitlyn Jenner after being married to who was that? Kris Jenner. The Kardashian mom. And so even he came out and said that this was not appropriate to have this transgender visibility day on an Easter Sunday. And so listen, Brother Love, I question the motive as to why this was placed this way. This is not an affront on the transgender community, because listen, this has once again been in place since 2009. No one has an issue, any problem with it. But why is it that it was placed on Easter Sunday?
Guess that's a question that only person can answer that is
the Biden administration.
You're right.
The Biden administration. And I think that, you know, that an explanation is due. Not to say that the day should go away, because again, it has been in place for over a decade, dare I say nearly 2 decades. We're 5 years away from 2 decades of it being in place, so that's not the issue. The issue is he pandering to the transgender community by putting it on one of the most visible days in Christian,
You're right.
in the Christian world. Listen, what do you think would have happened if President Biden put Transgender Visibility Day during the start of Ramadan? Do you think that there would have been, you know, not a single, not a single word about it at all?
great. Just like, you know, there's an outcry right now. I mean, yeah, it would definitely garner a response, a strong response.
As well it should.
Yeah.
As well it should. So, you know, that's the that's the story that Caitlyn Jenner but really and truly, that's how we found out about it.
Has there been a response from the Biden administration at all on this yet? Do you know?
No, don't expect one.
Don't expect one.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so that's the response.
Yeah, I mean, they're still trying to figure out, who put cocaine in the White House. But that's old crack chilled Applejack. Remember that crack chilled Applejack?
Greg, man,
Y'all ain't no fun tonight.
Ain't no fun. But Greg, check this out. Last week we had somebody in the studio by the name of Miss Stephanie Mike.
Yeah.
And man, she really did a great job of hipping us to all the nuances of NIL. And for NIL, for those of you who don't know what NIL is, it's name, image, and likeness.
That's right.
And college athletes, and Greg, I mean, just really amazing to me. In some other states, high schoolers can actually get NIL deals.
That's right. And I think that Florida is only one of 20 states where high schoolers are not permitted to get NIL deals, but there is a way around it. Kind of like the same, and she talked about this some, like if you have a child model or a child actor or actress, how they can be paid for the work that they do. If you have a high school age athlete who's being paid for a service, then they can be paid also.
Well, some of the other things that's taking place, Greg, and I mean, we talked about it last week. Man, this thing is so serious, and the amount of money that we're talking about is crazy money.
Crazy.
To the extent that Congress, and I don't think they're going to even be able to get to getting something done, but Congress is looking at addressing it from a national perspective, because state by state are addressing it within their states. But Greg, this thing is so off the chain right now. And don't get me wrong, here's what I'm saying. Man, I don't begrudge these young athletes from getting compensated. Man, I wish it was back in my day.
Yeah.
But Greg, NIL and moving around the portal is a better deal than NFL free agency.
Absolutely. But you know, one question came up last week, Brother Love, and one of the reasons why we circled back on this story, because there was a big transfer just today in college basketball. And one of the questions was, you know, when these athletes, get these NIL deals and they enter the transfer portal, what should happen? And this is what I think, Brother Love. If you have athletes who are making a certain amount of money on NIL deals,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's through their own efforts or through the collective, I think at that point they should not be getting scholarship money. That's
You
first of
use
all.
that NIL deal to pay their own way.
Yeah,
Okay.
to pay I think that's only fair under that circumstance because a lot of times those individuals who are getting scholarships, there is a financial need or a financial base.
You're right. You're right.
And so if you're getting millions of dollars each year on an NIL deal, there's no need to waste that scholarship money when it can go to someone
It frees
else.
it up. Yeah, it frees it up for somebody else who needs it.
Now, the other thing, too, is that if students transfer and they have gotten NIL money because of the school that they are affiliated with, that money should, to some extent, be returned into the collective or into a pot of money for that school and not go with the athlete.
Here's where I disagree.
All right, let's
Here's
hear-
where I
Let's
disagree.
hear it. Oh, we about you better phone the
You
friend.
know,
who
so,
the friend
so,
we calling
so, so,
tonight?
hey,
Who we calling
matter of
tonight?
fact, hey, the number is 689-686-4405. And here's where I disagree,
Yeah,
Brother
who we calling
Jackson.
tonight? We gotta call somebody. Cause
We gotta call somebody?
I know I'm right. I know I'm right.
Okay, you
I
think
just-
you're right. You think you're
just
right.
know it. Look, you got me dropping a cough, so I just know I'm
hey,
right.
hey, you think you're right. But Greg, here's the deal. Okay, say a Rod Love goes and plays for, Rod Love goes to Youngstown State.
All right.
I get an NIL deal.
Okay.
I'm getting an NIL deal
You gonna get a big deal too.
I'm gonna get a big deal.
Because I'm gonna be your agent. We gonna get you big money.
So I'm gonna get a big deal. So Greg, I'm getting my deal because of the hard sweat and equity that I'm putting into it, for me putting this body in jeopardy every play. So then I decide after the season's over with that Georgia won't Rod Love.
Okay.
And Georgia has sweetened the deal.
All right.
And let me say this. I agree with you when you say maybe because I'm leaving that scholarship there. Now I'm going to Georgia, but Greg, it ain't really for no scholarship if I got that kind of NIL money.
That's what
You,
you said.
you know what I'm saying?
That's what you said.
But you say,
Give that money back.
my money should stay at Youngstown,
A
right?
portion of something. And let me
Why,
tell you
why is it a portion of my money should
Let-
stay
let-
there
let
when
me
it's
tell
my
you
body
why.
that's in jeopardy?
Let me tell you why.
Hey, call in if you disagree. Call in, please.
No, only call in if you agree with me. Don't call in with no foolishness. There ain't way tonight.
689-686-4405.
I was sick the past couple of weeks and I'm
No,
melting
no.
now.
Hey, no. I
want
think
some
you're wrong.
smoke.
I think
want
you're
some
wrong.
smoke.
I think
Because
you're wrong.
Listen, let me tell you this. Because no matter what, Rod Love is still not bigger than the school. Rod Love's not
Okay,
bigger than
okay. Hey,
and the
y'all,
reason,
do
and
y'all
the
hear this?
reason
Okay,
why, now,
so,
y'all
okay,
saw how I let him talk.
all right, go ahead.
I let him
Okay,
talk. I
okay,
didn't cut him off.
okay,
Now, here we go.
okay.
The reason why Rod Love was able to showcase his talents was because of Youngstown State. Now, if you
Well, the reason
if you
why
go
Rod
back
Love
to
is
a
at
69
Youngstown State because Youngstown State.
just because you talk more
Okay,
or
okay.
talk louder don't
Okay.
mean you're right. See, Brother Love ain't learned that yet.
Okay.
We're gonna teach him that tonight.
Okay.
Now, the reason why you're able to are able to take advantage of the notoriety, the television time is because of Youngstown State.
Did I
Because they're
bring
gonna be
any of that
Youngstown
notoriety?
State.
Did I bring any of that
No.
notoriety? No, I didn't.
No.
Wait, hold up. They went all
They
over
had
the
the television deals before you got
Hey,
there.
somebody
Do
please
you
call
think that
in.
if you come
Somebody,
there, you bring
please.
a television deal to Youngstown State?
Tell him I'm right.
Do you know when television deals are put into place?
Greg, they're put in place years. But you know what?
So you're getting that exposure off of what they do
wait, hold
before you
up.
even got
So
there.
a lot of these players now, I'm glad, and Greg, I don't like arguing with you because you're the legal guy. You know how to fight through words. But Greg, Florida State went undefeated.
It's going to be Florida State no matter who's playing for Florida State.
Okay.
Guaranteed.
Hey,
and the television contracts that Florida State has been in place for years.
Hey, y'all,
There's not
now
a
he
single
won't-
player.
now he won't let me
There's
talk.
not a single player that comes to Florida State, no matter how great they are, that is going to enhance the television money of Florida
Hey,
State.
the general knows what he's talking about usually, but on this one, he's wrong.
Name me one player. Name me one
But you know
player
what?
that has
Okay.
increased the television
Okay.
revenue for a
Man,
college.
let me say this. When Reggie Bush was playing, if they had NIL deal, hey, by the way, they talking
got
about.
paid.
Well, we know that. We know that.
He got
But Greg, I'm gonna use him because he's an excellent example because this guy
I use
was.
Maurice Claret. Let's use him. I'd rather use Maurice Claret.
Okay, you can use him. I'm gonna use Reggie Bush because both of them were dynamic, but I don't think Claret was as dynamic as Bush. But to my point is this.
What you say?
Hey, see,
What you say?
my point is this. Hey, y'all, listen up. My point is this.
You're saying that
the
Reggie
bright lights,
Bush
the bright
in
lights.
college was a better player than Maurice Claret.
Okay, here's something, and I'm gonna go ahead and give some credit to Pastor David Jock, and you know where I'm about to go.
I don't know where you're going.
Okay, we often get in these conversations about the best person. Was Jordan better than than LeBron James.
But that's not really a question.
No, you went there. You went there. So you know what? I'm not gonna do.
It's not really a question.
No, but I'm not gonna do. Here's what I'm
I
not gonna
thought you
do.
were going to ask a real question.
No. Okay. Well, here's what I'm not gonna do. I'm not gonna devalue Maurice Clarett so that I can bring Reggie Bush up. Both of them were great running backs. I just favor Reggie Bush a little bit more because I love the dynamics of his running style. So Maurice Clarett, great, good running back. I'm not gonna devalue him.
All right. So let's put Reggie Bush or Ricky Williams.
See, all right, hey y'all, my point is this. Reggie Bush.
We got to have a measuring stick.
Okay, so we have a measuring
Gotta have a
stick.
measuring
We're
stick.
talking about NIL here, and you're talking about, and I hear what
Because
you're
we're
saying.
talking about the players that bring revenue. I'm saying
Bring revenue.
That players do not bring. No individual player brings revenue to a school. That's why the coaches get paid millions of dollars because they take these men, these
Hey,
young boys.
Greg, I
and
thought
they
you said you was
develop
over your
character.
sickness. I thought you said you was over your
You
sickness.
know what I'm saying?
Man, you got to be sick in the head talking. Hey,
So let me ask you this question: What player for Alabama is responsible for Alabama having the television?
hold on.
money that it gets?
We have a caller.
Who is it?
Caller, you're on the line with Rod Love and the General, Attorney Greg
Speak up
Jackson.
and speak right, caller. Who is this?
Now, both of y'all,
Oh, you got to put it up.
is
We need a little volume. Okay, speaker, caller, you there?
yeah.
Hey, Mondo, give us a little bit more volume on the speaker, please. All right, caller, we hear you.
All right. You know who this is.
Go ahead, caller, we hear you.
Okay. I agree that the young people coming out of high school are not necessarily
Mondo, we need more
gonna
volume,
add
please.
value. Are not going to add value to a university that's already established itself as a powerhouse.
I heard that.
I heard powerhouse. Mondo, give us some more, man. Give
You're
us some
saying
more.
that the school is already established as a
Because-
powerhouse.
The thing is, when you at high school level, you are a big fish in a little pond. How
Big
many
fish in a little pond.
In high school.
players? How many players have we seen that came from high school and fizzed out at D1 level? How many D1 players have we seen that were fantastic at D1 level go to the pros and they fizz out? Brian Bosworth is
that's
a classic example. And what's the Johnny Football guy?
Yeah, Manziel.
Hold up.
Texas.
But I want to clearly establish, are you saying that,
So-
hold on. Are you saying that the value
I'm
of
gonna go on
those
and hang up and let
individuals,
y'all talk about it.
what you say?
I say I'm gonna hang up and let y'all talk about it.
No. You don't light a fire and then talk about,
Well, no, what he's saying is the correct thing. What he's saying is that these schools are already powerhouses. The reason why these kids, why these 5-star athletes go to these schools is because of the exposure that the school is going to get them.
okay, but you don't think so you go win a game, you go win a season. You don't think those bright lights are going to follow you elsewhere?
No,
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Why are these kids leaving
No.
schools like they're leaving?
because they're trying to find the best deal for themselves, and that's the problem that these coaches are now having. That these kids are shopping their talents to make more money.
And you know what?
That's why we're having this conversation because Bronny James. For the first time, you all are probably going to be hearing this. We break news all the time. LeBron James' son, Bronny James, who was playing at the University of Southern California, has now transferred to Penn State. Now, why is he transferring to Penn State? Penn State is number 11. It was number 11. They're in the play. But do you think that LeBron James' son going to Penn State is going to change the dynamics of Penn State in and of itself?
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna say absolutely.
change the
But
dynamics of University of South
let me take. But no. Oh, come on, Greg. You gotta be. You still gotta be.
He did in University of South Carolina.
Well, I'm not even gonna.
University of
No. But see,
South,
this is an exception to the rule.
California.
But this is an exception to the rule because listen to who we talk about. LeBron James' son.
Right, what
No
did he
matter
do?
where he goes, he's gonna attract the kind of publicity and shoot.
What publicity did he attract for USC?
He LeBron James' son.
Right. What
You-
what
you-
did they get because he's LeBron James' son?
You don't think any of those endorsements?
No, his endorsements, his personal endorsements, yeah. But
Yeah.
not for USC.
Wait, so you don't you sitting here telling me you don't think
Right.
The LeBron shine
That's exactly
is gonna
right.
go shine at Penn State.
He couldn't even get his son off the bench.
No,
Great,
no,
He couldn't even get his son
great,
off the
great,
bench.
No.
His son
great,
wouldn't
great.
even
Hold on.
start at
No.
USC.
Does it matter?
No.
Does it matter if his son even play? You don't think the LeBron James shine is gonna go shine in Penn State, even if his son don't play? Come on now, you gotta use the better example
I'm
than
gonna say
that,
two
man.
names.
Let me tell you something.
Hey,
and then let me say this.
The only reason
Hold on,
why
hello?
George Stevens made
Hello?
it different is because he was on the field playing.
Hold
That's
up.
the only
Something
difference.
that
If
you.
Hey,
George Stevens
let me-
would have went to University of Colorado
Y'all
or
gonna
sat
let
on
the
the
guest
bench,
talk?
he would not
Can
have
the
had.
guest
He would
say
not have had
something?
these opportunities.
Hey, something else that you just glossed over and I just picked up.
What's that?
Can
And I really want you
guest say
to
something?
explain this one.
Oh, wait.
I just want to say two names: Marcus and Jeffrey.
Oh, you talking about Michael Jordan's sons?
Oh, duds. Duds.
See,
Both of them duds.
hey,
And they had
Exactly.
their dad is arguably
And they had the name and,
the greatest
and the
basketball
influence
player
of their
that's ever
father.
played. They didn't bring
You-
a single resource or a single shine to the schools they went to.
hey, you know, I love the way you and Doc, and are talking about this, but, let me just point out one little thing, because again, we're talking about the shine of a legend. Now, Greg said didn't bring a single thing. Okay.
He didn't.
Didn't bring a single thing. Now, I would
Okay,
just
I'm hanging
kinda
up.
politely say this. University of Central Florida had a shoe deal with another company until Jordan kids came and they start wearing their daddy shoe, and all of a sudden, UCF reneged on its. Yeah, Greg, I'm watching you on the monitor. I'm waiting for your response to this because you're saying what happened. Hey, that was a multi-million-dollar deal, and again, like you say, his sons really never played. So that was the Jordan shine, and so that's
How long
my.
that lasted?
Great, that was a multi-million-dollar deal for
I
the,
got you.
the
How
for
long
the
that
school.
lasted?
Hey, I know the audience get my point.
And the player didn't do a single
Hey,
thing to change that.
The audience got my point, but you know what? Here's something else that I do want you to respond to. Here's something else I do want you to respond to. It wasn't too
Ask me
long
a real
ago.
question. Ask me a real
It wasn't too long ago when we were in another studio,
Uh-huh.
and I don't know, man. It was this thing going on where all of these celebrity athletes were talking about their kids going to HBCUs.
I remember that.
And the name James came up too, along with Wade and some other names.
I got it.
Greg, and I'm not knocking them for not going, but that's a line that nobody has continued to talk about when these guys were so enthralled in talking about.
But why is that? Why is it that they're not taking their talents to HBCUs? It's the very point of what I'm talking about. Because they're going to established programs that have been established for years on top of years. Alabama is going to be Alabama, whether or
You're
not
right.
you bring in whoever you want to bring in.
You're right.
Florida
I agree.
State
I agree.
and the reason why our top athletes come to Florida State is because it's Florida State.
So
So that's why I say these athletes are coming to the school and they're benefiting from the established traditions and reputation of the schools that they're going to, and they're getting NIL deals based on that.
let me ask you this, and I don't know.
If they go to a school that does not have the television contracts of an Alabama, of a University of Florida, of a Florida State, and you name any of the big schools, they're not getting the NIL companies the exposure that they need to pay them all of this money.
Greg, something that we don't know, and I'm just curious about it myself.
Right.
You see all these kids transferring,
Right.
jumping in the portal, and I know one of the questions is what happens to these athlete scholarships when they go in the portal? It's like anything else.
Should go in.
Your deal goes away.
Yeah.
I mean, the minute you go in there, schools are not obligated anymore to honor that scholarship.
And I agree with that.
And I agree.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing, man, and I don't know the answer to this question.
I do. I know the answer.
Okay, well, I'm gonna lay it out for you. When, let's just say, Nike or some of these folk sign NIL deals with these kids,
Right.
and then these kids decide they're gonna go to other schools.
The deals follow the kids.
Correct.
Yeah.
So Nike is, because I would think that these sponsors would have something in their contract that allows them to veto these transfers too.
Which is the unfortunate thing, which is why I think NILs are dangerous. Because if a corporation can dictate where a kid goes to school, then now corporations are having a hand in where top players go to, and they can potentially affect where the best players in the country go to. That's the problem with NIL deals that I see, and that's why I think at some point in time Congress may step in. I mean, listen, when you have one of the legendary, most successful coaches in college football step away from the game because he says that NIL deals are messing up the game, that's saying something. When you have a legendary college basketball player in the form of Christian Laettner who's saying, hey, these NIL deals are messing up the sport, that's a problem. Now, I'm not saying that these kids shouldn't be paid. We've talked about time and time again how you have college athletes who are, I mean, there was one guy that was arrested for stealing food because he was hungry.
You're right.
Was it at Duke or North Carolina? That's ridiculous.
Wait, who was it? I mean, wait. At your alma mater, didn't a famous quarterback get caught stealing some crab legs?
Look.
Hey, man, you brought it up, man.
You know what?
You brought it up.
Okay. We have this conversation.
Hey,
listen, this ain't Florida
hey,
State
see,
bad.
boy, I tell you. But Greg, thinking about that, I think it's, and we live in a capitalist society, and man, I do believe in capitalism. But just think that folk are also looking at these coaches, a notable coach that also is tied to your alma mater. Why am I getting all these similarities? But he left your alma mater and went to coach another school, was very unsuccessful as it relates to winning, but then he got asked to leave and still walked away with $90-something million.
So he was chasing the money on that because that school that he went to saw that he felt that he was a successful coach. Now, what they didn't realize is that the success of that coach was also riding on the heels of the success of a program that had been building for years upon years. Bobby Bowden was 50 years in the college football game. The players that came and played while Jimbo Fisher was there were really and truly Bobby Bowden players. That's almost like when Urban Meyer that had Ron Zook's team and they won like the national championship the next year. He was playing with Ron Zook's players. It's like when Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay when Dungy left. And your guy came. He was playing with Tony Dungy's players. But listen, Brother Love, we got some other stuff we need to talk about.
Okay, man. See, you started me on that, man. You started me on that.
No, because we only got a couple minutes left, man.
Hey, okay, so Greg, man, update. We did see that the governor executed the removal today.
So let's talk about this, man, because I know that Let's Talk Nation is a smart audience, but just in case we have some Let's Talk folks who are outside of the state of Florida, haven't heard it on the national news just yet. Last week, there was an Orlando city commissioner who was arrested. And was arrested because of exploitation of an elderly person, 96-year-old lady, as well as fraud. And the allegations indicated that she took and spent approximately $100,000 of this lady's money, that she had executed a power of attorney where she was able to purchase property under this lady's name, get plastic surgeries and all of this other stuff. And so the grand jury came back and they indicted the Orlando city commissioner on these allegations of elder exploitation and fraud. And listen, Brother Love, anytime anyone uses a position and for all practical purposes, the commissioner Regina Hill is innocent until proven guilty. So let's just get that out there right now. But anytime that someone exploits or takes advantage of an elderly person, I don't care who it is, there has to be complications for that. And so in this particular case, as an elected official, if an elected official is indicted or charged with the crime under the Florida Constitution, the governor has the ability and the right to remove that person from office or to suspend that person from office. And when that person is suspended from office, then there has to be a special election.
So what takes place now, Greg? Because city governments are different than county municipalities, where you can actually have the removal and an appointment until such time as an election takes place. So now what happens?
So now my understanding is that there will be no appointment in this particular case, in that at the point of removal, the city of Orlando now has 10 days to hold a special election. Now, for anyone who has ever run for public office, 10 days is not a long time to get up and run a campaign. So what's going to have to happen is, Brother Love, there are going to have to be some established individuals in the community to stand up and say that, hey, I'm willing to serve in this position, not just for now, but you know, I may be your city commissioner for the next X amount of
Yeah.
years.
Greg, is it 10 days or is it 45 days?
My understanding is that they have to set the date.
Oh,
within 10 days.
okay,
Yeah,
okay,
they have
okay.
to have the
Gotcha.
date set within 10 days for the election to be held within 45 days.
Gotcha.
But 10 days is not a long time to determine, am I going to get into this fight? And so, Brother Love, when we talk about here in the city of Orlando, particularly in this district, because these are district-run races. It's not like the city of Apopka where these, where they're at
Countywide, citywide, yeah.
This is where specific districts are electing their own commissioners or representatives for that area. And there are only a couple of names, Brother Love, that come up when we think about Orlando, District 5, who understands the dynamics of the community, understands the dynamics of government, and how to move forward from those things. And so, a couple of names that I've heard, Brother Love, and I don't know if you've heard, but one that I heard was Shan Rose.
Yes.
Right now she is the executive director of the Town of Eatonville's Community Redevelopment Agency. Another is Travis McCurdy, who is a former state representative. I believe he ran and had the seat that was formerly held by Representative Camille Brown, if I remember correctly.
And also holding the seat right now is Representative Bruce Anton.
Representative Bruce Anton, that's right. And then, other names that have come up, former Chief Judge of the Ninth Circuit, Belvin Perry, as well as, Brother Love, a gentleman who we know, who is the editor-in-chief of Onyx Magazine by the name of Rich Black. And so, there are a lot of names that have come up, a lot of qualified people. But Brother Love, the name that I think that I keep hearing, the person that I think is probably geared up and ready to make a move right now, and we may want to have a conversation with him and just kind of see what his thoughts are, is the editor-in-chief of Onyx Magazine, Mr. Rich Black.
Yeah, and Greg, I'm looking forward to, basically hosting some of these individuals so that they can speak to that district. And I like the fact that you mentioned earlier, this is not a city-wide election. You actually have to live in the district. I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I do also believe that Rich Black is either the president of one of the homeowners association, or he's closely tied to being active with the homeowners association within that district. So looking forward to having Rich Black either come on the show and talk to us about what his platform is. And Greg, we like to open this up to everybody to have a discussion.
Yeah.
But Greg, 45 days is
not a long time. But here's the interesting thing, Brother Love, and we've talked about this time and time again. I want to say that there are approximately 30 to 40,000 individuals in that district. I may be off on my numbers, but I want to say, and just for the sake of numbers, 30 to 45,000 people who live in that district. And time after time, the person who's elected to serve in that seat is normally elected with anywhere between 1,800 and 2,400 votes. Less than 10% of the voting population ever comes out and votes in those elections. And so, this is an opportunity for individuals to have a vested interest in who's elected by actually learning who the individuals who may be running are and to come out and to vote.
But Greg, hit him real quick, because this determines, the person who goes in that seat will determine how often your garbage picked up, how often your taxes are raised, what is impactful as it relates to crime in your community.
Not only that, Brother Love, but they also have a say-so in affordable housing programs and projects.
And economic development.
Economic development, that's right. But, I've said this, brother, I don't want to put this on you, you know what I'm saying, because I don't mind getting in trouble from time to time. But I've said that one of the best kept secrets in Orlando, Florida, are the city elections.
You're right.
In my mind, those are the best kept secrets, because time and time again, it seems as if elections sneak up on people. And so, this is one of those races, normally, Brother Love, we don't talk about local elections, but we think that this is important to where we're going to continue to challenge our soldiers in Let's Talk Nation in that area to understand and learn who the candidates are and to get out and to vote.
Why I strongly agree with you when you talk about city elections, it comes down to one word for me, and that's proximity. Man, the accessibility and to be able to touch, feel, and talk to the person that you're voting for, that really directly impacts how you live, the quality of your life.
Now the question has come from one of our other potential ambassadors for Let's Talk Nation, Bishop Stubbs, and he's asking, what about Luana Gelzer? And what I'll say is this: Luana Gelzer, she one of the things about her is that she runs in a lot of races, and she came close the last time, but this particular seat deserves someone, whether it's LaWanda Gales or anyone else, who understands the nature of politics.
Yes.
Politics is an art for a reason. Politics is a science for a reason. Political science, because it's about bringing people together and working with people. And if LaWanda Gales can do it, then listen, let that district determine and make that determination on their own. But my understanding, Brother Love, is that she's not going to put her hat in the ring for this for a specific reason, which we'll touch on when we're at liberty to talk more freely.
Well, on that note, I know we're out of time, and I got to say to what I always say to you, Brother Jackson, but I do want to give everybody a sneak peek that Brother Jackson and myself, we formed a partnership with The Wire. You will start hearing the audio version of this on The Wire at 98.5 in the next few weeks on a regular basis. I want to thank Paul Billings, the owner and operator of The Wire, for this collaboration. Hey, Brother Jackson.
We're going to thank him for our NIL deal, too.
For our NIL deal. Hey,
we're going to get us some NIL money off of that, too.
Tell you what, tune in next Monday. Brother Jackson, you don't have to go home.
But you got to get out of here.
Hey, we'll see you next week.